Tim Pool got a PragerU video? Really? Tim! We haven't watched PragerU in ages.
Have to lie to you before you call them a liar. 1, 5, 20. It seems like many Americans are okay being lied to over and over and over.
That's actually an interesting question. Because you could call a person a liar after they've lied to you once in that moment. But if a person lied to you once, like 17 years ago, you can't really go like, oh yeah, Dave's a liar. Like, you can't, like, that semantically, that's not how people would say that, right? You would have to demonstrate like a habitual. Yeah, he still has the beanie on for the PragerU video. Everyone else wears a suit. Classic.
Again. Here's just one example. Michael Brown was a young black teenager. A gentle giant. Who on August 9th, 2014,
oh no,
during a routine police...
Hey, I wonder why... Guys, a conservative trying to demonstrate the concept of lying. Okay, so this black child was murdered. Now, hold on.
Stop in Ferguson, Missouri, raised his hands and pleaded for his life as he looked down the barrel of racist white police officer Darren Wilson's gun. Brown famously...
Dude, dog, I don't even remember the details of Michael Brown. This was literally a decade ago. Conservatives are still mad that, like, not everyone in the country raised their arms up and went, oh, no, yeah, we're glad that this other black kid died. When was this? 2014. This was 2014. This was before the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, going all the way back. Like, I swear to God, you might as well go back to Emmett Till. How many times do people have to lie to you? Now, if you've listened to the media, Emmett Till was a sweet young man who did nothing wrong. But actually, according to this one white guy who was interviewed 100 years ago, you know.
He held his hands up and yelled, "Don't shoot," before he turned and ran. Wilson shot him 6 times in the back, killing him dead. If you bought that, you bought a lie. Here are the facts. Michael Brown...
I do think, though, that it's very funny how representative this is of the PragerU demographic. That, like, this is far enough back that the only people who care about this are going to be, like, older people. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, basically everyone who's currently politically engaged was alive for the Michael Brown shooting. But normally you don't have to go back a decade, especially in an era where news happens so quickly that you can constantly get, like, citations of stuff happening super recently. Like, to go back this far, you're basically pleading to the boomers who are still seething over this one. You know what I mean? I like how they drew him angry. Yeah. Like, they're yeah.
Was 6'4". He weighed 200...
He was 6'4". Nah, see, he wasn't a gentle giant. He was 6'4".
92 pounds. 80 pounds heavier than Officer Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He was a giant, but there was nothing gentle about him. Brown and his friend had just robbed a convenience store. Wilson...
Do you think they had to, like, rewrite the script a few times? Like, somebody looked over it and they were like, okay, you can't call Michael Brown gorilla-like. No, Tim or Dennis, whoever wrote this, you can't... You have to imply it. You can't say it. You have to imply... You can't just say it.
In his police car, spotted them walking in the middle of the street. The 2 men matched the description of the thieves. Wilson drove up and told them to move to the sidewalk. Brown refused.
I love how they're both being drawn here, by the way, because, okay, I'm really not trying to play it up, but they have literally drawn Michael Brown as a gorilla here. Seriously, look at him. The officer just looks like a cartoon twink. And Michael Brown has like a cannonball of a torso. Like I said, like, you can't say it, but you have to imply it. I remember after the Michael Brown shooting, they outlined skips from regular show. Literally, yeah. Dude, it's skips. Here we go. Michael Brown, pictured shortly before his tragic death, attacking. Wait, can I get like what's a twink that I can find? What's like a Rigby? Is Rigby the little one? From regular show? Rigby's the little one, right? No, Link. Wait. Hold on. Link. From Zelda. Hold on. Tears of the Kingdom. That's like a twink, because Rigby's just small, but here, let me find like the twinkiest possible. Okay, I'm just gonna type twink. Here we go. Perfect. Okay? Can mime this out like puppet theater. You know what I mean? Basically, like moments before the shooting, it looked like basically the cop was sitting on the black couch, and there were 5 Michael Browns on the behind the couch. Like this is what happened. This is what the media won't tell you. Okay. Now, tragically for Michael Brown, Link did in fact have the Zonai laser cannon.
Blocked Wilson from opening his car door, punched the officer through the open window, and reached for Wilson's gun. Wilson fired in self-defense, striking Brown's hand. Brown ran. Wilson got out of the car and pursued him. Brown then suddenly turned and...
How big they made him! Oh my god! Dude! It's just so funny how they couldn't just say, like, he was a tall man. They had to draw him like this. So he get bigger every cut. Yeah, because he's getting a workout from running, so he's getting larger. Can we get an actual photo of him now? Yeah, he looks like a normal human, actually. Contrary to popular opinion, he looks like a guy, actually. Just looks like a dude. Like, there are tons of people that have been shown in PragerU, like direct references to large people in PragerU who have not been drawn like hulking muscle men. But, you know, I mean, we all know what's being done here, right? I'm not even arguing the facts of the case because, again, like, the Michael Brown shooting happened 5 years before I even started my channel. I didn't do, like, the deep dive into it, you know? This has been already, like, settled. This was the origin of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Charged Wilson. Wilson repeatedly told him to stop, but Brown kept coming. Wilson shot Brown until Brown collapsed. A local grand jury and federal investigators from the Obama Justice Department concluded that Officer Wilson was justified in his use of deadly force. There is no evidence that Brown ever held his hands up and yelled, "Don't shoot." The whole story was manufactured by the media. It wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last, not by a long shot.
Who manufactured that story? So wait, the whole media is a liar? I thought like there would be a specific... I don't even remember the details of the Michael Brown shooting. I really wish I had a perfect memory so that I could just like read a story and then have it in my head for the rest of my life. That'd be so nice. Johnson said that Wilson initiated confrontation by grabbing Brown by the neck through Wilson's patrol car window, threatening him and then shooting. Both Wilson and Johnson stated Johnson fled, with Wilson pursuing Brown shortly after. Wilson stated Brown stopped and charged him after a short pursuit. Johnson contradicted this account, saying Brown turned around with his hands raised until Wilson shot at his back. According to Johnson, Wilson then shot Brown multiple times till Brown fell to the ground. Okay, so Michael Brown's friend said they both ran, and then Michael Brown put his hands up and stopped and was shot in the back. And the cop said that Michael Brown charged at him, and then he shot him. Wouldn't you be able to tell if he'd been shot in the back versus the chest? I think that's like one of the easier things to do with like forensic analysis, right? Like you would know whether he was shot. Oh, here. Brown was struck 6 times, all in the front of his body. Okay, so he was shot in the front. Yeah. So why would you say that he was shot in the back? Shot at his back. Nah. Okay, so in that respect, the cop is correct in that part of the account. Check the source. Well, I can't contradict like forensic analysis for a decade-old case. Witnesses to the shooting claim Brown had his hands up in surrender or said don't shoot. So protests later used the slogan hands up, don't shoot. That's where it came from, by the way. Subsequent FBI investigation said there was no evidence Brown had done so. Grand jury called and given evidence. So basically it's just a he said, she said when it comes to like the specifics of whether or not he charged the officer at the end there. Okay. There's not even enough evidence here to like have a definitive opinion. It did kick off the BLM movement. But that's a good thing. Vaush, there were 3 autopsies. Did subsequent autopsies find different conclusions? Wow, this was a heavily analyzed shooting. My God. Oh boy. 3 autopsies. Twice in the head, no shots in the back. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well,
the biggest whopper of them all was the Russia hoax, the entirely made-up story that Donald Trump, the candidate, and then Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was a Russian agent.
Notice how they're specifically saying Donald Trump here, because multiple members of his inner circle were indicted and arrested for the exact things that he was being investigated for. And the conclusion, yeah, his lawyer went to prison. And the conclusion that they arrived at was that Trump himself wasn't found to have made contact, but a ton of people around him in his administration were actively colluding with the Kremlin. So, like, the result was like, no, Russia or Trump wasn't a knowing Russian agent. He was an unknowing Russian agent. Trump's campaign manager admits to sharing info. Yeah, no, Paul Manafort. Yeah, like all of this has been like, this led to so much information coming out. So many of the people surrounding Trump were basically just like stooges of Russia. So he was an unknowing Russian agent, not a knowing one that we know of.
This dark fantasy preoccupied the legacy media for 3 years. It involved dozens of interlocking lies, almost all of which were planted by Trump's Democratic opponent. Given the sad state of our corporate media...
We're going to disprove any of that? We're just going to say that? We're just going to say that?
It is perfectly fitting that the New York Times and the Washington Post won Pulitzer Prizes, the highest award in journalism, for dutifully reporting each lie as if it were the gospel truth.
What lie? Well, you were willing to do this whole animation bit with Michael Brown being a giant, scary muscle man. What lies? What lies did they say? What did they say that was incorrect? Obviously this is like meaningless, and PragerU has fallen off a lot in terms of relevance. So it's not the same hitter that it used to be. But obviously, you know, literally everything that comes out of these guys' mouths is pretty much objectively false, and they know it, and they lie to advance an agenda, and they're aware of that fact, and they hate you, and they want you dead. They want you dead. They want to kill you personally. They masturbate to the thought of killing you. So it's a laugh for them to like impugn. The funny thing is, like, legacy media is not trustworthy, but compared to these guys, they might as well be deities of trust. You know, it's just incredible how low the bar has fallen, because the New York Times is not a trustworthy institution. You know, the BBC, not a trustworthy institution. Even Reuters and AP News, they're not, like, you should always be critical of these institutions. But then, like, compared to literally anything the Republicans do, like, they're basically without fault. Like, the Republicans are so bad that they indirectly elevate the standards of other publications.
Truth. Then there was the Charlottesville lie, that the president described neo-Nazis as very fine people.
I remember that. It was when he did that exact thing. He did explicitly do this. There's a whole Sean video, Sean Skullman, where he talks about Republicans like desperately trying to cover up him doing this.
At a press conference following a riot in Charlottesville, Virginia, in August of 2017. He never said any such thing. There's a transcript of the press conference to prove it. The real quote was, "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. They should be condemned totally."
Well, then where is this quote in relation to the very fine people quote? Like, what's the connection between these two? They say it like an hour apart? We can find out.
You're putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
Remember, this was a protest where on the right, it was just an open neo-Nazi conference, and they killed a woman. And his first thing is like, okay, yeah, they were both violent, but the left was like super violent and bad.
It's on both sides, sir. You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
So, seems pretty unambiguous. No, yeah, like rewatching it, it's actually pretty astonishing how bad it is, right? You guys don't remember. It's been a while.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him?
The correct answer is, of course, that there are plenty of reasons you would have a statue of George Washington or Thomas Jefferson up that aren't just celebrating them as defenders of slavery, whereas the only reason that you would have Confederate generals up, and in fact the only reason they were put up, was explicitly to celebrate slavery and to intimidate civil rights protesters during the 60s. So even if you want to tear down George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, don't take the bait and make an equivalency or an equivalence between them, because there isn't one.
Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now,
as you can see, unlike what Tim Pool is implying here, because Tim Pool is implying that he said this and then immediately said the very fine people line, but he didn't. He just said they were fine people on both sides. So yeah, it's pretty unambiguous.
No matter. The media had manufactured the story, and they were sticking to it.
The story manufactured by recording Trump and publishing recordings of him saying it.
Additional common sense evidence to the contrary, like the president has Jewish grandchildren.
Dog, these people will call George Soros a Holocaust survivor, a Nazi, but then be like, bro, how could Trump possibly be an anti-Semite when the grandchildren he pays no attention to, or when Jared Kushner had kids that he doesn't pay? Oh yeah, common sense evidence to the contrary. Like at one point, Donald Trump had a Jewish accountant. Go ignored by the left-leaning media, right?
Was simply ignored. Or how about the laptop from hell? The computer that Hunter Biden left at a computer repair shop and never picked up.
Oh, remember when the laptop story first broke and every single Republican account, politician, and pundit started talking about how child porn was found in the laptop? And then over months, all of that faded away because it was just made up and they all lied about it. It was completely fake. There was no evidence of it. It was basically just full of photos of him doing lines and like hot chicks and having a big dick. Like that was like the whole laptop was just him like prostitutes while high on coke, but all of them immediately reported that it was full of child porn. Like politicians were saying this.
That story was broken by the New York Post in October 2020. In addition to files depicting Hunter's personal predilections, emails...
Right, like banging hot chicks and doing coke, right. Having a big dick.
And text messages on the laptop suggested that his father, presidential candidate Joe Biden, was involved in corrupt business dealings with the Russians, the Ukrainians, and the Chinese.
Still no evidence. It's been years, still no evidence. No, mostly from the Daily Mail, Cutie. Basically, the accusation here is that Hunter Biden spends approximately $4 million a year on cocaine, and in order to get that much money, he basically had to go on down to China, and he had to be like, hello, I'm Hunter Biden, a.k.a. the son of the vice president / senator / president, depending on what time period it is. And the Chinese people are like, oh, so like, if we hire you, you're going to get us in, right? Like, you're going to get us some dealings. And Hunter Biden's like, yeah, you pay in advance, right? And then like Hunter Biden gets a bunch of cash. That's literally it. It's all Hunter Biden going, yeah, I'm friends with my dad. Hey, can I get some money? And just like mooching off of his father's popularity and power to get stuff. Now, is that shitty? Yes. That's not good. But there's no evidence that that Joe Biden's actually done anything. Yeah, I didn't realize Republicans were the anti-nepotism party. There's no evidence that Joe Biden actually did anything, like, did any favoritism. So that would be the actual, like, crime.
Twitter immediately banned the New York Post story from being shared on its platform.
They banned the New York Post story because at the time, Twitter had a rule about posting stuff that contained leaked info. This was not the first time they enforced this rule. Previously, they banned a big expose. Yeah, revenge porn, because it had revenge porn. It had unconsensually distributed nudes. They had previously banned a large expose of anti-police journalism. Like there was a big leak of like police information that also got banned by Twitter, which was like a left-leaning thing. And they banned it for the same reasons. It wasn't a partisan thing.
Did the legacy media jump all over this egregious violation of the freedom of the press? No. They jumped all over the fiction that it was another Russian disinformation campaign. For the record, I don't care whether you think Trump is great or horrible. The issue is not...
I'm pretty sure that direct links have been found between Russian officials and parts of the laptop from hell story. Because Russia involves itself in a lot of far-right stuff around the world. And this was before the war in Ukraine, so they had more like media presence over here in the West. I don't exactly remember, but I'm pretty sure I remember that being the case. Whatever the case is, you know, the laptop story ended up being bunk. That's why recently there were God damn it. Recently, there were charges brought against Hunter Biden, and Republicans are furious that it's not going to lead to jail time. And the charges against him were like illegal possession of a firearm or something. Like, relative to the stuff they want to get him for, it's like nothing, you know?
Not Trump. The issue is truth. How do you determine who's telling it? One obvious way, as I've already suggested, is if someone or some news source lies over and over again, you may not want to trust them. Who told you that
Agreed.
Supreme Court Justice nominee Brett Kavanaugh was a sexual abuser and a gang rapist? Or that a Catholic high school kid cruelly mocked
well, I mean, that was the testimony provided against him. It didn't prevent him becoming a Supreme Court justice, but that was the information brought against him. It seems like the fake news that Tim Pool doesn't want you to listen to is reporting any of the things Republicans do. You know, like they just don't want you to know about it. Yeah, Steve Bannon was bragging that the Hunter Biden laptop story was fake and that everyone was buying it. Like Steve Bannon was like, we look at all this bullshit people are believing, you know? It probably is. Oh, Kavanaugh almost certainly was raping lots of women. I don't care. Conservative Supreme Court justice, that's a ding. His behavior when being scrutinized, that's a ding. I don't care. Yeah, big rapist, don't care. Prove he wasn't, don't care. I believe it.
a Native American war veteran on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh my
Or
God.
that mounted border
The MAGA hat kid? Seriously?
agents used whips to control migrants at the Texas border. The legacy media, the corporate media, the establishment media, whatever you want to call them. They've lied to your face, and they'll keep lying.
This is like MAGA greatest hits. Well, it's the classic way that like cults function, which is rather than exert energy having to like disprove every true thing the opposition says, it's much easier to convince your followers to do the internal disregarding themselves, you know?
You can keep believing their lies, or you can show a little curiosity and take some responsibility. Read past the headlines. Consume information from across the political spectrum. Determine for yourself who deserves your trust and who doesn't. In the process, you'll be surprised how much you will learn. This is how you become an informed citizen.
Guys, I'm ready, and I've decided where I'm going to get my political info from. I'm ready.
I think Kamala and Biden might be throwaway candidates. They know they're going to get steamrolled in the election. I really don't see the Democrats winning this. I think it's fair to say Trump's going to win re-election. I think Trump might have a massive, massive victory, which shocks the left. I think we're looking at a Trump victory, man. Trump 2020 landslide, even with everything going on with COVID. I think that's what we can expect. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump had a 49-state landslide. I think we could see a 49-state landslide. We may be looking at a Mondale-Reagan-type scenario where Trump landslides 49 states. And we may see a 49-state landslide. Maybe a 50-state landslide. That'd be amazing. I think we might be seeing a 49-state landslide. I just really think it's more likely that Trump wins 520 electoral votes. No amount of mail-in ballots will matter. If Trump gets 537 or 36 or even 538 every single electoral vote, we all know Joe Biden will lose. Like, let's be real, man. As I've stated 1,000,001 times, Donald Trump's going to win. The Republicans are going to sweep. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has defeated Donald Trump.
No copyright. Spectacular. Was that true? Did Trump win 2020? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. The crabs are celebrating how right Tim Pool was. It was a 50-state landslide.
Now that's a novel idea. I'm Tim Pool, host of Timcast for Prager University.
Excellent. Excellent video. Great stuff. Obviously, on the off chance any conservatives or Tim Pool fans are watching this, of course you should be skeptical of broader media narratives. The problem is you guys are just wrong, like, all the time. So, like, you can encourage broad skepticism, but, like, you're like non-stop liars. So it's like skepticism should be directed against you first and foremost in all cases. To the point where if a conservative says something, I genuinely think that it's more intellectually and morally sound to presuppose that they're lying. Like, it's not only that they're misrepresenting, that it's just made up, and then investigate again. A conservative can never be your final source. They lie on more things than they tell the truth.